What's going on, friends and family? Thank you guys so much for joining every day is a Saturday. I'm your host, Brian Roof. Hey guys, another great day, another great episode. We got two guests on today, and my next guests are from a nonprofit organization called 22 Mohawks. The nonprofit is dedicated to being the first point of contact for service members when they return home from duty. Their goal is to provide the physical, mental, and financial support veterans need while bringing together their loved ones and communities. They also connect vets with emotional support dogs, gym memberships, mental health awareness classes, and much more to empower them to overcome the many obstacles they face each day. Let's meet our next heroes, Dave and Stacey.
Hey, Brian, how are you? Thanks for having us.
Hey, Brian.
Absolutely. Welcome to the show. I appreciate you guys for coming on.
We
So
appreciate
let's
you bringing us on.
get to know a little bit about Dave and Stacy, and tell us a little bit about you guys yourself and how 22 Mohawks become itself.
Yeah, yep, absolutely. So we're located up here in about 30 minutes south of Boston, Massachusetts, in a town called Millis. And Stacy and I actually went to junior high school together. We sat next to each other in junior high, and she would cheat on my papers. I'm just kidding. She wouldn't.
Oh, I'm sure.
Maybe she.
Yeah, I'm sure that's the way it was. Yeah, I'm sure that's
Um,
the way.
I let him go with that one.
Yeah.
um, I joined the army in 2001. I was actually on September 11, 2001. I was actually sitting at Fort Benning, Georgia. I think it's now called Fort Moore, which is very, very sad. Um, I was sitting at Fort Benning, Georgia, and I was wearing jeans and a BDU top. And they had just handed me my dog tags, and I was getting my first military ID photo taken when the first plane hit the World Trade on September 11th, 2001. So I was not even, um, I hadn't even started basic really at that point. So that was crazy. But I spent the next 16 years in the Army in various units. I did some time in recruiting. I did time with the 10th Mountain Division, 214, who I deployed with. I spent time at the 82nd Airborne, and then I spent time at the SWIX. I went through the Special Forces course, but ended up hurting my back in the Echo course right before Sage started. So I never got my beret, and that'll always feel like unfinished business. But a great experience nonetheless. Um, and then yeah, so after that, I got medically discharged in 2016, and had my 50-meter target, which was get my college degree in finance and become a bazillionaire, managing people's wealth. And we're not quite at the bazillionaire point yet, but I did get my degree in finance and got my licenses in finance, and in around 20, yeah, year 2020, I was cruising Facebook, and I saw that a good friend of mine, John Hatfield, had died by suicide, and he had actually died by suicide in 2017. But he was a really really close friend of mine up until I got out of the army, and I just kind of lost track of him. Even I knew he was high risk, but I never really checked up on him. I just left service and got my degree. So the guilt from that, kind of took over a little bit. So I kind of felt the need to do something. I was in a position where I could do something with the autonomy at work. So I was trying to think of something that I could do to raise awareness for John and other people, so they didn't have to, one, die by suicide, and two, as a leader, feel the way that I felt when I lost John, because I almost feel somehow responsible for not having reached out to him enough. So obviously 22 is the average number of the off-cited average number of veteran suicides per day. We obviously all know that it's probably way more than that, but those numbers will come out in September. But the Mohawk actually represents the stigma, and it represents the willingness to do things that most people won't do. And I was trying to replicate something that would create excitement and get some visibility, kind of like the Ice Bucket Challenge. So I shaved a Mohawk into my head, posted on social media, and said, "Hey, whoever else posted a Mohawk, I'll donate $100 to Mission 22. You just post a Mohawk and then hashtag Mission 22, tag me, and I'll donate." So obviously Stacey was the first one to get a Mohawk, and that started our reconnection really. And then we got a bunch of Mohawks. I ended up donating a couple grand to Mission 22, but that's kind of how it started. And I don't know, Stacey, you want to talk a little bit about what your side up until that point?
Well, like David mentioned, we went to junior high together. So, and we stayed in connection when he was in the Army, we'd message every once in a while and stay in contact. And then in 2009, my father, he was a Coast Guard veteran. He died by suicide. And I never really understood or knew what a career in the military was, even though my dad had served, until I started working closer with this organization and doing this stuff. But that sparked me, like when Dave said he did the calling to get a Mohawk and, post it on social media to bring awareness. Of course, I did it. And then that's how he and I got connected back together. And we've kind of just been diving headfirst into this and doing all we can to help people since then.
That's absolutely amazing.
But yeah, so from that point, we got a good bit of love on the Mohawks. So I was like, what excites me? What can I do to bring a bunch of veterans together? And so I registered for 10 veterans to do a tandem parachute jump locally in Massachusetts. And the way we do it is basically we tell everyone to register about 6 months before the event, and then a couple weeks before the event we draw the names. Right, again, another way to just kind of create excitement. And I think I actually got 10 registrations and had 10 veterans. And so we jumped at Pepperell Skydive, and 10 veterans came. They brought their families, they brought some friends, and then we went and had a dinner locally. And it was all funded by myself. I thought it was, that's the best way to do it. Like, hey, I'll pay for your jump. You just get yourself there, and I'll pay for your family and your dinner to kind of give back to my community. And it was a great event, great night. People got up, told stories, people jumped. I'm friends with every single one of those people to this day. Some of them have since got a dog from us, since come to Florida with us. So it was very impactful for such a kind of a short day. It was like 3 or 4 hours. People jump, we eat dinner. But that's what we wanted to do, right? We want to bring in the community, bring in veterans, bring in their family. And I was like, man, that was a big success. I'm gonna do this every year, but I need a landing page website so I can, have a place where everyone can go, see pictures, and register. So when I remember reconning for a website, it was like $3 to $5 grand or something to get a website. I'm sure it's probably more than that now. But I was like, shit, if I'm going to pay, $3 to $5 grand to get a website, I might as well come up with some other services to provide that I have the capacity to, bring in. I've since learned that the capacity, that's a funny word because it just keeps coming. But so we created a website. It took about 2 months to build, and then we launched it late August. It finally launched, and then early September, we got a call. On the website, that's right. So on the website, I put, well, my services are going to be gym memberships. It's going to be the tandem parachute jump, and it's going to be dogs, right? Because not every veteran needs a service dog. I think the majority of us don't need a service dog. Some of us think we need it, but we can all get away with probably a very well-trained animal. So I'm like, shoot, I'll pay for training and I'll pay for dogs, right? I'll rescue a dog from a rescue shelter. They're very inexpensive investment, and pay for training, right? So I put that on there. Come September, I got a call, or 2 days after I launched the website, I got a call from Mike McGee in Cape Cod, Massachusetts, saying that he needed a dog. He was in bad shape. So
backing it up, he sometimes mistakes this. So he decided he was going to do the dogs, and then all of a sudden there was like 2 dogs that he had gotten from the local shelter at the house, because he's like, I got to have dogs, because if I'm going to post it and somebody's going to call, I need to have a dog ready. And I'm like, what are you doing? Because there's like these 2 dogs running around peeing and pooping everywhere, and I'm like, oh my gosh. And then you can continue from there. So.
She's right. Yeah. So I went
everything.
It happened instantly. There's no waiting.
Yeah, so I literally went.
I know how that is. Yeah, when you got an idea, man, shoot, we got to do it now.
That's right. That's right. We have to.
We'll come up with a plan after.
1 is none, 2 is 1 is how I looked at it. So I got 2 dogs, right?
Nice.
Mike called me. I need a dog. The next day, Stacey and I drove to Cape Cod, which is like an hour and a half away. Handed Mike the dog. His dog's name is Axel, and we were like, "Wow, that was really cool." It was all, like, he hugged us, brought a tear to his eye, it was like a life-saving act of kindness. And I think I paid like less than $1,000 for both dogs, and took 3 hours. Drove down there, dropped the dog, drove back, right? So I'm just trying to paint the picture of what it actually takes to just do something to save a life, right? Not much, right? Well, I say that, but not much for, many people. Maybe it might be much for some, but that changed everything. That could that person to get that dog couldn't have been the best person for the dog, couldn't have been a better person for the dog. So Mike then connected us with a local trainer, Professional Canine Services, who partnered with us and told us that they would source dogs for us and do the training for us. So what we did was we fundraise, we get the money, we would purchase the dogs and then have the dogs trained and then hand them off to the veteran. So since September of 2021, we've done 75 dogs. Wow. Some of them are in different states, but we've done 75 dogs. We've done one cat we've done two, which is pretty cool. And that gentleman who got a cat ended up getting a dog from us too, because, you know, I think he broke up with his girlfriend. His girlfriend took the cat. Cat was cute as hell. But so we've done 75 dogs. The training is we've really, really started to get very good at the training. We have 3 trainers, Angie and Kevin, both prior Marines. They're both straight out of Marine Corps canine handler unit. So they have extensive training. Yep.
Nice.
And then we have Dawn. Dawn's was in the Marine Corps too. She did 20 years, and she is our like senior trainer, and she does all these group training sessions. So it's a good group of people, Marines. We know they're going to get the job done, and they do it well. So during that time frame, we met a couple of people. I met this guy who's now on our team, Ayman Kafel. Ayman Kafel is a great guy, well-rounded police officer. He's written a book, published a book last month. He's just a really good guy. He connected us with an airborne school down in Florida, and we've since created what's called the biannual parachute airborne retreat, where we fly 20 veterans to Florida twice a year to go through essentially Army Airborne School. It's an abbreviated Army Airborne School. So it's 7 days of ground school. And then they do 5 jumps. We get foreign jump masters so they can get their foreign jump wings, but they actually get certified. They're certified paratroopers, static line paratroopers. And I'm sure most of your listeners, and you know, Brian, static line is you get the yellow cord, it's hooked up, you jump out the aircraft, and the static line will pull the chute for you, right? So it's like 1,250 feet for height. So we fly people from all across the U.S. The idea now is we've started to really do a good job at restructuring the program, where we have partners come in and do mental health therapy, one-on-one and group. So after the veteran jumps and tackles that newfound fear, which is jumping out of an airplane, right? Because I think it's like 1% of people that we bring down actually is already jump certified, jump qualified. They tackle that door, they jump out, and they're like, "Oh my God, that was great!" And then they come to the house, the schoolhouse, and there's mental health therapists there to talk to them about their experiences. And that's when they can unload whatever their trauma might be, whether it's combat related, non-combat related, family related, whatever their trauma is or what they're going through. They spill the beans, and it relieves a lot of that tension, anxiety that they have. Even if it's in for the short term, right? It's not a long-term play, because they come, they jump, they leave, but it is some short-term relief. And it's a huge value add. Everyone has a good time. And like I said, we bring in foreign jump masters. They give everybody blood wings at the end, and everyone gets their standard U.S. airborne wings from the schoolhouse, and then they get foreign jump wings as well. And those are our two core services. But we have a couple other smaller services too, if you want to maybe touch on those, Stacey.
Yeah, so Dave actually is a financial advisor by his career day job. So we also offer free finance one-on-one and group sessions through his business where he works, which is a great value add. We also have 2 therapists, licensed therapists that volunteer with us. So one is Dr. Kafori. She's out of locally here. She's a Harvard grad. She's amazing. She works a lot specializes in children with suicidal ideations and does a lot of family work. She's been doing great work with us, volunteering her time. And then we also have Kevin Foley. He works at the VA, and he's a combat veteran. So we have those two people on call whenever, you know, somebody may need something more than what Dave and I and the rest of the team can provide. We can set them up with that. We do weekly local meetups here where we're based out of. So every Wednesday we meet from 6 to 8. We do the ORP. We just get together. We have speakers come in. We have a great group of core people, and then we have some people that show up, new people all the time, which really is a huge value add. Even if it's one extra, not extra, but one more person that, you know, we haven't met before that show up. We find that, you know, just people getting together, sharing their stories, and knowing they're not alone in the stuff they're going through is huge. We do a book battalion, we call it, but it actually is really successful because anything we can do broader, like on a Zoom, we love. And so we were able to get people from all over, and we pick a veteran military-based book, you know, maybe has to do with PTS, TBI, traumas, whatever. And then we'll get the author on one of the Zooms with us too, which is pretty cool. But that was really successful last year. So we're going to do that again this year. And then, of course, we need funding to do what we do. We're 100% volunteer based. So everybody who you see working with us, they're all volunteers. And so we, of course, have some fundraisers. We have a local golf tournament coming up, a 0K, 5K race. And recently we've done dogs in every state. So if people want a dog, somebody needs a dog in another state, what we do is we find them a dog locally, maybe at a rescue locally, or if we even sometimes have to transport dogs, we've done that. And then we'll find them training near where they live so they don't have to travel far. So we'll connect with some local trainers and see who fits best with us and then set them up with training. We cover the cost of the dog and the training. Anything thereafter is up to the veteran to cover, like daily expenses for the dogs and vet bills and things like that moving forward is theirs, but we cover the training and the dog. And we've done that in numerous different states, but we recently had Sergeant Floyd Dunn out of Illinois. He's been a longtime supporter of us. He's pretty big in like the beef jerky hot sauce community, and he's always just supported us since we've started. And he just met us on Facebook, you know, and he would just get people to send us products for raffles and that. And then he wanted to step up and start doing fundraisers for us and kind of creating a smaller division of what we do out here, where he's in Illinois, Sterling, Illinois. So he's been really stepping up, and he's doing a tandem parachute jump every September. The first event that we did that Dave mentioned, every September 3rd, we do the tandem parachute jump here in Mass. And so he's going to start one this September in Illinois. He'll be doing one. And our bigger vision is to have one of those jumps in all 50 states, you know, in the next couple of years coming forward. So we're always looking for other people that, you know, want to step up, and kind of we're blueprinting it and just seeing how we can get more of what we're doing, you know, stamped all over the place.
It's such a good start to Suicide Awareness Month, which is September. You know, if we could get one person in every state to have 10 jumpers, we'd help them fund it. We'll help them fundraise. So that day in every state, everyone's tandem jumping for veteran suicide awareness, suicide prevention. I think that would be really, really cool to just kind of kick off to Suicide Awareness Month. Yeah.
And how cool would that be, like, to just get everybody to videotape and tie all of it into one thing, you know?
It'd be amazing.
Eventually, that would be awesome, huh?
I would love that. Yeah. We're going to do it. Like, it's going to happen.
Absolutely. You know, I mean, with you guys' ambition and stuff like that, you guys, obviously, you guys have your hands in a lot of things, and you're giving a lot of different avenues. So, uh, I I know that you guys, the way you guys are going, it's whatever you want it to be. That's
I
the way I
appreciate
see
it.
it.
Thank
Yeah,
you. Yeah,
absolutely.
I appreciate that a lot. Really, you're right. Yeah, that's a good way to put it. But I have a couple more things I want to add. But did you have something you
Yeah,
wanted to
keep
say?
going. No, no, no. I want you to keep on going, man. This is your show.
Awesome, thank you. I just want to note that it's not just us giving a dog, and it's not just us, you know, parachuting out of planes. Both are just such great things in themselves. But it's designed a certain way to really help the veteran, help their families, and kind of protect each other. And I'll give you an example. So our dog program. So we'll source a veteran will call us. We'll source a dog, and then we'll pair that veteran with the dog. Right. Usually takes about 2 weeks on average. And if all goes right with the dog breed and all that stuff. And what that dog does is that dog creates a purpose for the veteran, right? And then Stacey does a really good job at always talking to the veteran. We'll text message, we'll email. So that veteran knows that 22 Mohawks, Dave and Stacey, are top of mind at all times. Hey, how are you? How's Fido doing? What are you guys up to? Are you coming to training? Because we have training every Sunday. Now, the training every Sunday does two things. It allows us to see the veteran and make sure that the veteran's good to go. Make sure that they're visibly healthy, and they're mentally healthy just by talking to them. It also allows us to see the dog. Is the dog healthy? Is the dog being fed? Because if the dog's not healthy, dog's not being fed, then obviously something's going on with the veteran. So we can kind of adjust that, because one, we don't want anything happen to the animal, and two, we sure as heck don't want anything happen to the veteran. So we can dive in if we need to. There hasn't been any super major problems, but that's part of that. And then it's also a way for us, if we have a crisis call, which we've had recently, our veteran knows who they're going to call. It's like, I'm not doing well, but Dave and Stacey from 22 Marks call us all the time because they're just typical veteran, group of people. They're awesome, right? They gave me a dog, so I'm going to call them up. Well, Stacey's more awesomer than I am, but you know what I'm saying. So this particular instance, this veteran called me at like 1 a.m. We talked for about 90 minutes, and it was hard. I mean, the veteran was crying. He was in bad shape. So the whole time I'm on the call with him, I made sure that we knew where Fido was, what Fido was doing, what his plan was for Fido. And, we talked mostly about, when we weren't talking about him, we were talking about his dog and what the next steps were. So we managed to get this veteran on an ambulance and got him to the VA. And then the next day we went and we picked up his dog. The whole time he was in therapy, because he went to an inpatient, he called us every day, asked us how his dog was doing. And because he knew that he could call us directly and knew that we had his dog and was taking care of his dog, which in my opinion saved his life, right? Because had he not had anyone else to call, which this particular veteran did not, it could have been very, very bad. So the design behind that is, it's not just a dog. It's a way for us to connect with the veteran to connect back with us. And then they know who to call when the shit hits and they're hurting, right? Now, obviously not every veteran's going to call us, but that's kind of how it's designed. And that stress test, that actual real life stress test, worked for us. And it was a major win in our eyes. And then as far as the jump is concerned, it's not just a jump. All these guys and gals come down, they jump with us, they become part of our family. And we have these group text messages with each group of jumpers that we've had. Operation Airborne for Vets, Operation Heart of Stone, and now Operation Mohawk Resurrect. We have a text message group with everyone, and we always reach out to each other once a month. We'll send a message. Stacey will send a message, and we just make sure everyone's good to go. If anyone needs anything, these people have either got a dog from us, referred us to a veteran who needs help, and we can just see like the community being created, and that's what we need, right? We need community, we need purpose, and we need sense of belonging, right? Those are the three things that we need in order to prevent veteran suicide. And there's a lot of veterans out there that are alone, just kind of running around the world and not having any purpose and not really sure what to do. So if we can kind of wheel them in and bring them in as part of the community, that's what we want to do. And if there's a veteran that's listening or watching this right now that wants to create the same thing that we have somewhere out there, call me, because I'll consult and I'll tell you exactly how to set something up like this step by step. We don't care about money. We don't care about ideas, taking other people's ideas. We care about our vets and making sure that our vets are not dying by suicide. That's our main focus, and we will never lose sight of that. We don't care about anything other than that, and I think that we want to make that very clear. There's a lot of organizations that we've seen that, their mission kind of drifts once they see a little bit of love from people, and it sucks because it's one mission, one fight, and if we stick together and connect, we can do great things. But if we have ulterior motives, we're just gonna hurt the warrior class, the warrior community,
Yeah, and you're already dealing with a group of people that have trust issues.
Mhm.
So you don't want to be, and I guess I'm gonna probably repeat myself here, but you don't want to be the slide for someone. You want to be the ledge, so someone can grab onto that.
That's
you know,
right.
and you don't want to become that extra slide. They deal with so much shit when it goes through dealing with the VA and being put through number after number and being put through a cycle. The last thing they want to do is go to their fellow brothers and sisters and then find out that they're getting misled or things are it turns into a big shit fest or something, and then
It's
turns
gonna
into a
get
more
you.
problem. And then you see them saying, "Screw this community," and then you start seeing where veterans don't want to even interact with their own communities, and they start disconnecting even more,
Right.
and really don't have anybody to connect with. So it's great that you guys are, another community and a ledge for folks, so to
We
speak.
we use the analogy static line. We're the veteran static line. We pull their chute for them and let them hit the ground easy.
Yeah, that's great, man. And we need more and more of this. And like you said, one team, one mission, and no matter who out there is trying to do it, what the most important is they're trying to save a veteran's life, and we all need to be there and help each other out. No matter how big you get, we all start from somewhere, right? I mean,
That's
we
right.
all got to start and get there and gain ourselves that traction. And one of the ways doing it is just out there speaking and talking
Right.
about it and putting it out there as much as we can. And that's why I'm glad to have you guys on and a lot of different other nonprofits and to give people another avenue to speak, and
Yes.
as much as we can, we got to get this out there because that's the problem. There's a lot of times I don't know none of this until I end up meeting folks like you guys or I watch a podcast and I'm like, oh sheesh, I didn't know that even existed. I mean, there's almost a community for every veteran's need, whether you're a
Mhm.
skateboarder, whether you're someone that wants to jump out of a plane, whether you want to read a book. I mean, there is dang near. You want to go out fishing, you want to go out hunting, you want to
Yeah.
go, I mean, you love music. There is so many different things now. And that's what I love. But the problem is a lot of people don't know about it,
Right.
and it's because you just got to keep talking and just keep saying, and no matter how redundant it may feel to someone or whatever, we got to do it. We just got to keep doing it because you never know how many times this message will end up getting played and who it will eventually hit,
Right.
at some point in time. So
No, so true. So true. One of the cool things we see is that I mean, we've spoken to so many groups. We've spoken to, men's club or like old timer men's clubs. We've spoken at corporate events. We've spoken to all veterans. We've spoken to just so many groups. And one of the biggest takeaways from us speaking is that after those talks, and we always stick around for a little bit after, there's always one person that will come up at least, and they'll say, I lost my brother to suicide, or I lost my father to suicide. And you can just see their face, and they're happy to know that there's people out there just like them that they can just, it's almost like we immediately embrace them and hug them and bring them into the real thing. And it's just, they feel relieved being able to tell us that and know that they're part of us. And they could be civilians, they could be vets, whatever. Someone will always bring that up. And it's really close to home with these people. And recently, one of our donors, one of our largest donors came and watched us do dog training. And she's an older woman. She's phenomenal. She's such a great woman. And so she donated. And then a couple weeks later, she came, she watched us train. And then a couple weeks later, she brought her son and his son's wife in, watched us train. And she put me to the side. And she said, my daughter's best friend died by suicide 2 weeks ago. And she's like, I didn't really fully understand what you guys did. She was more like on the side of the dogs. She just wanted to be part of a dog community. And she'd been donating to somebody farther away that she couldn't actually physically go to. So she was happy to know that we give dogs and we help vets. And she wanted to just watch what's going on. We just happen to be a veteran suicide prevention org. But she said she didn't understand really what it meant for someone to die by suicide. And now she knows. And it brought her in even closer to this push, and it sucks that has to happen, almost like any other disease or illness, like cancer, Hodgkin's. Like when someone gets that in your family, you're almost like your whole mindset just shifts towards that. Like, what can I do to help? Like, what can I do? But if you don't hear it, it's like, oh, I know someone that got cancer. That really sucks. You know it's bad, but you're not emotionally connected to that. And once it happens to you, a piece of you is lost, and you do become emotionally connected, and you just want to, do something about it. But yeah, I just wanted to share that because I think it's really, really powerful when there's people that are willing to say something after we speak, right? It's like when a leader shares their story, it almost gives the other person permission to do the same. And I think if more leaders out there like us and you, Brian, and then your listeners tell their story to people, you'll be surprised at how many people have experienced things very, very similar and need to talk about it.
And that's why I express a lot on this show. Hey man, when you're on here talking, don't be afraid to be a little vulnerable to things here and there. That's kind of how my whole podcast actually started. Is just me kind of telling my storyline, going from the time I was a child, and all the childhood trauma I had and all that stuff. But it's things to talk about because, man, a lot of things that we do is we tend to be as human beings, the more hurt we are, the more we want to try to make ourselves busy or try to mask things, because we just want to load it up because we don't want to have that opportunity to go deal with it. But something I've learned, man, in the past probably year or two maybe is having a clear mindset and clearing your mind, how much better of a person you become in life and when it comes to even dealing with other problems and everything, and how I wish I would have dealt with so much more crap and shit that I had a long time ago instead of just keep trying to act like I'm a fucking tough dude all the time.
I know.
And there ain't nothing wrong with me. I'm good. And just trying to shove it down. And how many relationships I could have probably saved, how many, ways I could have reacted to a better situation, how much of a father I could have been to my two older kids. There's
Absolutely.
just so many things if I would have fucking dealt with all that stuff earlier or talked about it. But a lot of our generation, bro, we were taught like to just suck it up, man, and just kind of move forward, which, you got to be careful. There's you could go way too crazy on one side, but I think it's good. And the healthy leader is someone that can deal with deal with things and admit
Yep.
that something's wrong or whatever. And the only way you'll ever fix it is admitting that there's that problem. And that's
That's
the only
right.
way you'll get past it and being able to adjust it.
That's right. Yes,
But
it's so
but
true.
yeah, the more that we all talk about it and we show that there's conversations that we're okay to have, the more everybody else will start coming out and saying, "You know what, man, shish, I can learn from this too," or I've experienced this myself.
Yep. Yep. No, there's so many of us that are out there like that. I recently read a book called Haunted by Combat, and it starts off and it talks about veterans who have had significant childhood traumas and certain levels of it, and how that childhood trauma translate to the way that you handle things overseas, and then when you come back, right, and how bad it's actually beat you down and kind of hindered your maturity, your emotional maturity as a young person, and then how you
Oh,
grow up. And it can really, really um, like weaken the way that your resilience towards like seeing buddies getting killed, or watching civilians getting killed. And that is a big piece to a lot of the suicide um, you know epidemic, right? It's that childhood stuff. But just bringing up, I know you said that you had that, and I
yeah.
think a good bit of us actually kind of have, you know at different levels, of
No.
course.
And what you're saying, bro, makes 100%. Like it relates to me and what you're saying even more. That like just connects things for me because I do think a lot of us. There's a lot of people in general that have childhood, traumas from, earlier days and just getting the whoopings and stuff like that. I'm not saying everybody has, but man, I mean, there was like go get a branch from the tree type dealing back in the day, and people got some real ass whoopings and there's just certain things that we dealt with as kids that we always just kind of shoved down and never really talked about it. You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
and now as I've had the opportunity to slow down, slow life down, start looking and smelling the flowers and touching things and saying, man, I think I've always lived life just and passed by so much stuff because, I've been always like tunnel vision. But when I've had the chance to sit back, you can open up that tunnel vision and start seeing everything around you as well. And you're like, golly, man, there's a lot of shit there, and I had to process it. It's like, I feel like we all start off kind of like a baseline in life. When we're all born, we have that even baseline. We're all happy and everybody's just friends and there's just no problems and shit. Then all of a sudden
It's
we
awesome.
things start happening, man. And then the layers just start forming,
Right.
and the more that we don't deal with those, they become part of your base, you know what I mean? And you start getting more of a harden of a person. Instead
Right.
of having layers now, it's all becoming one. And then instead of just knocking those layers out, and that's something I've had to learn is starting to chisel some of this stuff up, man.
Yeah.
Because
Understanding it. Yeah.
yeah,
And yeah.
definitely. Because I mean, I don't even have a relationship with my mom now, and as I've been becoming an adult, and just so much has happened, and a lot of it I translate to when I was a kid, man. You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah. Same. Same. It's those, I get those mommy issues, man. And it's, yeah, it's brutal.
Yeah,
You were saying like whoopings. I got verbal whoopings or just
yeah,
no
yeah.
verbal at all, and it was, it does something to you. And I think as you get older, as I've been reading about like mental health, mental fitness, and trauma, like a lot of it leads back to that. And I'm like, oh, I got to think about, why did I react this way? Why can't I snap out of this, consistent, bad behavior? It's not like bad, but it's like, it just doesn't work. Right. And a lot of it, I'm not going to blame anyone else, but I just got to kind of dive into that and figure it out. you know,
Oh yeah, man. And that's it. Some of this stuff is just things that you're never going to go back and be able to fix what happened. It's just how can you deal with it in a healthy way? Like when something happens in your life,
hmm
you don't have some crazy ass reaction. And it's in like I said, I feel like my reaction now today's like even like with my relationship with my wife, like just reaction to any kind of conversations and stuff like that. Since I've been a little bit in a better, clearer mind, I'm able to have a better conversation. I don't feel like the argument gets at such a like a higher level sometimes where I fight fire with fire. I more or less just kind of try to be the calm, in the storm at the, and try not to be storming with the storm, or just try to back off and like figure it out more. Not versus I would always be more of the 0 to 60, and just and then you got to go back and say, fuck, man, I said a lot of badass shit right there. I'm sorry.
yeah,
I didn't mean that,
I know. Daily,
but I definitely
daily.
have gotten a lot healthier with it. But you just,
Yeah.
it's just getting there is it's time, man. It's taken me like 42 years or whatever. So, you
I'm glad
know,
you're working on it, Brian. That's better late than never,
absolutely. I mean, and part of it is you just have to own a lot of things. You got to own it, and
Yeah,
in order to fix it, you got to own it, right? And that's
agreed.
just kind of my philosophy in life. And once you own it, and then you can move on from it, and just say, I messed up here, but now I want to do better.
Totally. Do
Yep.
better. Yep.
Do
So
better.
true.
That's right.
Yeah.
So, Stacey, how do you deal with being around the veteran
I'm just
world all
kidding.
the time and stuff?
Um,
Because it takes a special lady to deal with us veterans.
yeah.
I definitely know that, and that because I found my wife, and I've been blessed to have a woman to accept me for me and my ways. But
Well, that's a
yeah,
loaded question, Brian. No, I'm just kidding.
I know.
I think I have a whole new appreciation and understanding for like what, men and women who have served go through, and understanding on a deeper level, the commitment that type of, career, so to speak, is huge. And I think for civilians, like even my dad had served and I knew he was like on a boat and I knew, but I never really understood. He didn't talk much about any of that, but like until I started getting closer with Dave, and then the men and women we work with, and understanding on a deeper level the patterns and the similar things you see going on, and how much of your life you invest into this. It's in the changes that happen when you're trained to go over there and be a certain way, and you come back and it's like, why aren't you understanding the level of empathy I need, or the level of compassion, or these things that men need it too, are expecting, so kind of just understanding, I think, more has been one of the most eye-opening things for me, and being able to help the people that we bring into our family here is just been amazing. And it's a lot of consistent patterns that we do see, though, with the people that come in. And I think for, again, the spouses and the family members, you don't know unless somebody's talking and telling you about their actual experiences, which most people aren't doing. So you're never really understanding, until you can get into a place. And we bring, we encourage, obviously, if the vet wants to come by themselves and not have a spouse or family member, that's completely fine. But we always encourage, like, you can always bring your family members. We started the Mohawk Minions, which is for kids. So it's kids helping kids. Lighter topic. Yeah. We're not like putting the suicide piece into it, but we're bringing in the kids so that, they can start to do things to help one another on that. So that's been really cool as well. But we really want to bring the families in and have them have a better understanding of what, the veteran goes through, what you guys have been through, on a deeper level. Because I think we all have this idea what we think, and it's usually not accurate.
I love that. And, I think it's very true, especially this is talking the younger version of me when I first got out and dating and stuff like that. I think a lot of women impression, especially like, oh, he's a Marine, bad, he's tough as shit, yeah, but there's still a human in there, right? And I still, have feelings and stuff like that too. Yeah, I act like a tough ass and all this shit too. But, when you do become vulnerable and you're younger, sometimes I feel like they're like, oh, you should be tough. What are you fucking crying about? And you feel like, then you're like, oh, shit, I need to be tough. Shut up. That was kind of like, I know that when I first started dating, that was kind of a thing that, it, a lot of them just expected you just to be a tough son of a bitch all the time, and not have those vulnerable moments, because they think that you're trained or whatever. But, I assure you that just because someone's gone to combat or whatever, that they have zero kind of feelings in their life, they're there. You know what I mean? They react differently than maybe you do, and that's the thing. We always expect for someone to react a certain way. Just because maybe you react that way doesn't mean that A, B, C, and D react that way, and we got to put some of those expectations on some people and realize that, hey, just because they're not reacting does the way that you think they should be reacting doesn't mean they don't have a reaction to it.
I love that. Yep. I think you nailed that for sure.
I think so too, because I think even with Dave here, like, I think, it's easy to think because he's not outwardly emotional, showing emotions. So for you just like, oh, that doesn't bother them, or you don't think it because unless they're expressing it, you don't know. Certain things could be really bothering, but you just would never know. But then when you put that shell on and you're being told so much that you have to be that way, sharing that your feelings, right? Feelings, you need like an emotions wheel. How are you feeling today?
Well, it's like you mentioned training, Brian, too. It's like in the infantry, you train reflexive fire, right? So you stand on the isosceles, you look at a target that looks like a human being, and over you ready up, boom, boom, right? Ready up. And you just train reflexive fire over and over and over. And you see the same visual, that human being looking target, cardboard cutout. So when you go overseas, when it's time to actually do that, it's just reactive, it's reflexive. You just aim, pull the trigger, and move out, right? Like you're not thinking about someone else's family. You're not thinking about the person's
memory, man,
or goat, right? You're not thinking about that. You're thinking about mission first. I'm out. Drop that dude, and then you transition out, and there's no reflexive fire training on how to be empathetic or like have understanding towards other human beings or other individuals. So when you get out and you find yourself in a stressful situation, it's that same reaction, that reflexive fire of like 100% violence, or, whether it's verbal violence or you're mentally being violent in your head, like because it's your reaction. You've trained that way over and over and over. So people like, oh, you're quintessential, the stigma about a veteran, like just being violent. And it's like, well, I mean, it's not abnormal for a veteran to just be 100 miles an hour when something's not going right, because they've trained that way for years and years and years. And if you understand that, then you'll understand, like, oh, well, he's not crazy. He's just done this over and over and over. It's like waking up in the morning and brushing your teeth and going to the bathroom. Like, you do that over and over. And those days where you are running late and you don't get to do that, and then you feel like shit. It's because you do that so much over and over, and you're like,
Right.
oh my God, my day's ruined because I haven't sat on the toilet this morning, right?
Yep.
So I think where there's kind of a disconnect in the military is they need to spend just a little bit longer training that. Like, we've trained so well to be warriors. Now let's train to kind of, decompress in how we should think about things on the way out. And I think that there would be a lot less, there'd be a lot less stigma. There'd probably be a lot less suicide. Veterans would have more empathy towards their family, their wives, because it's like you're getting a tiff with your wife, and you're just like, shut down, right? Like, I can't hear you.
Yep.
This doesn't affect me at all. And
Well, I think there's a little bit of an expectation for us to think that they understand us, or like understand us, what we're going through, and they don't sometimes understand it. Like, they don't
right,
realize the 0 to 60. It took a while for my wife to learn about it. Once she started like educating herself about PTSD and about some of the things that I've gotten, and the way that I act about things. And once she has really taken the time to, like, and now she knows about it, she's more now she looks out for me when we go out to places. Like, she understands how I like to sit. All right. So, she understands where we sit, and she's now she leads the way with so much of it because she's so much more educated, and it's not like we don't have to fight about it or anything. And she understands even when I'm having my moment, when you're having that fucking 0 to 60 moment, like,
it's
she just
coming.
knows, like, she knows how to more or less to decompress the situation versus escalate it, which
Yeah.
sometimes that happens in relationships where we'll throw fire on fire because we're just like, I'm gonna have the
Steel
fucking
on
last
steel.
word. And we're all humans. I mean, we all get like that. I mean, it's just you got to learn at some point in time where that becomes super unhealthy, and that's an unhealthier way of. And how can we decompress this? We'll come back to this situation once we have some time to decompress and think about it. I went through
Yep.
this whole Dale Carnegie course a while back, and one of the things they taught you there is never to react impulsively. Like, if you get an email, to react to, and it's a bad email, to react to it immediately. They say,
Right.
read it, give yourself some time to leave the emotions away, get the and get back to logic. Because a lot of times when you get something, you get super emotional about it. Well, when you're over emotional, logic goes to the wasteland. You know what I mean? And you just, when you get like spun up and emotional, all logic goes out the window.
Yeah.
You get an amygdala hijack, so your brain can't even process logically. And if you get stuck in that phase, it takes way more to get out of it. So if you can just, like you said, sit there and cool down before you get going, because once you start going, it's going to be harder to stop. And then you hit send, and then you're like, ooh, did I just do that? Yeah.
Yeah, and then sometimes when you start getting that wheel going, and you really start going, and you're spitting out so many more words, and then at the end you're just like, I hate that part. You're like, God, wait, I hate the part when you gotta say, I shouldn't have said that. And then you gotta go back and say, I'm really sorry. I know shouldn't have said that. But tongue could be like a dagger, man, and sometimes it does that damage. And that's why I try to not be impulsive with my reactions anymore. Like, and try to work on that reaction, because, man, reaction creates action. And however you react, it's going to create some kind of action. If you react to something in some way, it can literally make the difference on how the outcome of it comes,
Right.
you know?
Well, like, it brings me back to the whole like accountability thing, or self accountability. It's like you have to hold yourself accountable for the things that you do. And if you're like holding yourself back from sending an email that could be not appropriate because you're having that amygdala hijack, like Stacey said, you could get yourself in trouble. And the same is true like with your mental health. If you're having a hard time with your mental health and you seek help, sometimes it doesn't go the way that you want it to go, right? So you um, you change course of action, right? Um, you change your framework. Like I know a lot of veterans that will go to the VA and they like get pissed off because the VA rep isn't a good rep. So they flip out and it's not good. It's like, well, if that therapist doesn't work for you, just ask to see another one. Yes, it's going to take a little time, right? Ask to see another one. Hold yourself accountable, and don't lose your mind. There's so many of us that have issues, right? You just I see it a lot that vets just they expect a lot of stuff without putting in their own work, and you have to
Yeah.
self-reflect. You have to hold yourself accountable, and you can't blame others. You have to just reel it in, focus on what your issues are, right? And just tackle those issues one by one. If it takes a year, if it takes 10 years, focus on self, hold yourself accountable. And I feel like that's one of the I don't even want to call it an issue, but one of the fails that we have in our community is it's like, well, oh, I'm a vet, I'm disabled. Give me this. It's like, well,
Yeah.
you got to put in your own work too. And sometimes, yes, you should have expectations, right? But you should also hold yourself to a high standard and lead yourself to the healing that you need.
Absolutely. Totally agree. It's important, man. I mean, it is important, and the sooner you can realize the stuff, the quicker you can get yourself fixed and save. I can tell you from story after story how many of us have probably blown and ruined relationships because we just didn't fix ourselves, or we just didn't deal with our
Mhm.
issues, and the way we dealt with it was we are hurt people hurting other people, and so in some cases we just were projecting what we were having onto others, and it was unwarranted, and sometimes you burn those bridges, and uh, it's
Makes
good to
you strong.
work on yourself as soon as you can and try to get that help and realize it.
Right.
And the military does need to do a better job, and they should be like linking up with programs like you guys. You guys should be directly the military should be dang near looking at you guys to come in, talk to these guys, have representations from a lot of these nonprofits, and not rely so heavily on the VA
Right.
to go do everything. And some of these nonprofits are going to do so much better for these veterans than the VA can do. The VA
Yeah.
can only do so much, and that's like compensation, get you some doctor appointments here and there. But the actual that mental, physical, like the mental and camaraderie fixing stuff, that's only going to be done with the hands of fellow, brothers and sisters and people that have gone through that same shit.
That's right.
There's just a big trust factor there, like I said, within the veteran community, where they have a lack of trust for certain things, and the people that they feel they could trust the most, are people that they probably serve with, and that they feel most comfortable around. You
That's
know,
right. Yeah, I was recently asked by a civilian person. They asked me if I thought that the active military should change their policies within service to help people that have mental health issues, right? And I think back to my time in service and how I was um, pretty hard on some of my guys when they did show weakness. And I mean, we're in the we're in the business of war fighting, right?
yeah,
We're in the
yeah,
business of getting indoors, shooting people in the face. So it's like we don't have time to like look, if you're having mental health stuff, move on, right? Go, right? But while we're fighting wars and doing like dirty shit, we really don't have time while we're doing that to like, stop and put a
no,
band-aid on. We
yeah,
have to drive on. On the
yeah,
way out, yes, there should be more focus. So when the
right.
vet gets out, they're not having that issue. And it's like the the military as a whole, we're war fighters. We have to fight. We have to do it. We have to be hard on our people, just the way that it is. It sucks, but that's just how it
Because,
is.
well, the enemy that we go against doesn't play nice.
No,
I
and
mean,
they
these dudes cut
yeah,
heads off with gold knives. I mean, they don't play against the, we go against the Geneva Convention and the NATO, all that, the laws of,
Right.
the our enemy don't play like that. And
Yeah.
so, I mean, we can't sit there and be, yes, you have to work on these guys. I mean, in terms of understand that combat war can break the strongest human being. Okay. So when you break them, try to fix them a little bit before they go out and they're going to go out to the rest of this world. You know, not everybody's going to need that fixing, but there are some people that out there that have gotten broken and need help to be fixed before they go out there and put their, put their signature on the civilian line and become a civilian and then try to get into relationships with other, people that don't understand them and them to kind of think that everybody expects them to kind of understand them. It's a big thing that I don't know how. I think the problem is that in terms of at least the Marine Corps, the feeling that I always had was they were more interested in us because while we were there serving, but once we were getting out, man, they didn't really care. You know what I
No.
mean? Like once they found out you went to that last, there was the career jammer. We called him the career jammer. You see him one last time before you get out, man. Once you kind of told him, nah, bro, I don't want to do, I'm good. I'm ready to just,
Yeah.
Get out. They're done. You know what I mean? It's like, boom, they're done with your ass. And it's like, go on. And I get it, dude. Probably the time that I got out, which was 2000 okay, so I came home. I went to, I was over in the Middle East in 2003. When I came home, they we were fresh from coming over from the combat zone and they just sent us out in the world, man.
Yeah.
And no kind of training or nothing. We didn't know what PTSD was.
No.
Uh, you know, we weren't really familiar with any of that.
No, not at all. Not at all. I had, almost no clue when I got out, and then John died, and I was like, gosh, this is crazy. Like the army forgot about me, and I forgot about John, kind of deal, and it just made me feel really really guilty that I wasn't there for him. But like since the start of the global war on terror in September 11, 2001, there's been roughly 7,100 combat related deaths. And in that same time frame, there's been, over 125,000 suicides. The number's just, I mean, I'm sure you've heard the number, but
Yeah,
it's just,
yeah.
it's insane. And it's like a study done by the Michigan National Guard found that organizations that give dogs to veterans, that there's a 0% suicide rate. And all the people that have got dogs from us haven't died by suicide, or they're still alive. And I think that it's, it's such a simple concept that has just grown significantly, and I think anyone can do it. And if you have the ability to do something like that, if you have the time, shit, if you can do one dog a year in your local town to a vet, like you're without a doubt saving a life. There's no question. You're not just saving the life of a vet that you've given a dog to, you're saving your own, because the impact that has on my soul every time I hand a dog over to a vet and a grown man looks at me and tears up and says, thank you, you saved my life, is just probably the most rewarding feeling I've ever felt, and that will do the same to anyone who does it. Very, very simple concept. You just got to put in a little bit of work.
Well, they've always said, a man's best friend, and I know that so many people out there are, become these dogs don't just aren't just dogs. Some of them are legit their family members and these people celebrate their birthdays
Oh
and
yeah.
stuff like that. It does it you know it little animals, they are the most loving little things. You can scream at them and tell them to get out of here or whatever. They'll come right back up to you wagging their tail, wanting you to pet at,
I know. Yeah.
and they're just, that's one thing. And I can see how, dogs and, any kind of animal in general, I mean, that someone really has a passion in or loves and wants to take care of, how much that can do for your health and stuff like that, your mental health.
Big time. I mean, it does for me, you know.
The little sons of bees don't live long enough.
I
You know what I
know.
mean? And,
I know.
you know, like, but when you start really loving them, it's like, little things, man.
It's funny you say that because I'm so morbid with that. I think about that all the time. I'm like Googling like how long my dog's a min pin, and I'm like, how long do they live? Like, how much time do I
He
have?
assesses on it. He does.
You know,
Like
and
he
I'm
gets
like,
into kicks, and I'm like, relax.
no,
the
it
dog's
doesn't.
3.
It's not
It's
good for
okay.
me. But like, yeah, I mean, you're right. They just definitely don't live long enough. And I a lot of the nightmares that I have is like it brings me back overseas, and it's like my dog's getting killed, and there's nothing that I can do about it. It's not like somebody in uniform. It's literally like my dog fighting next to me, you know. And I'm like,
Yeah.
oh my, up in like
Yeah.
the shit, like crying, and I'm like, shit, I need some medication. You know, it's like
This is a true story. He's not kidding.
you know, it's like that's what happens to me is my nightmares are like family members overseas with me, and then something happens and I can't help them. It's just like helpless, you know.
It's funny how we always like these little dogs because I even have my little Pomeranian, and her name's Pixie, and yeah, she's my little girl, man. And
Wow,
you know, I love her like to death. So
shit, I love Pixie already too.
she's a cute little dog, man. I tell you. And then we have a Chorky. So we have a Pomeranian and a Chorky, and they're both little dogs. I mean,
Yeah,
everybody likes the Chorky better. His name's Cooper. Just because he's a cute little ugly dog. He looks kind of like a gremlin. I call, you know.
yeah,
You're gonna have to
But
send us pics.
yeah,
We need
yeah. Send us
pics.
pictures.
let me send you guys some photos. Yeah, that dude, he's
Name?
the ugliest cute dog you'd ever see.
I love it. I love it. What did you say his name was, Brian?
Cooper.
Cooper.
Yeah, we got
Yeah.
Cooper and Pixie. Yeah.
I love human names for dogs. I think it's hilarious. It's like, who's that? Well, that's William.
Yeah, right. Yeah, my friend or your friend. Yeah. Yeah.
Man, it's so funny. Yeah.
I love it, man. That's great. Well, you guys got anything else you guys want to talk about, or any I forgot, or any messages out there you want to leave before you guys sign off?
Basically, I mean, if anybody needs anything from us, you can go to our website, the www.22mohawks.com. Boom, there you go. You're on it. And Dave and I's emails at the bottom. And also, like, you know, Dave and I are, you know, doing a lot of things, but we have a great team of like amazing people behind us. We have Kylie, she's our canine director. She sources dogs for us. She's amazing. We have Diego. He just does a ton of events for us and different things like that. He's a huge peer support. We have Tara, Dr. Kafari. She does a therapy session. So we just like want to give a shout out to our team because we wouldn't be able to do the things we do with them.
They're awesome. Yep.
Absolutely. Any other shout outs you want to give? You guys are more than welcome. This is a opportunity to plug away.
Oh, now we're on the spot. Now we'll forget somebody. It's like when you do a tag and you're like, shit, I forgot. You're like, just no tags. Then I don't have to worry about forgetting anybody. But just our whole team. People know who they are. Carlos.
Everyone, you know.
Add everyone. Yeah,
exactly. Add everybody. And so just in our whole 22 Mohawks family, like literally we wouldn't have what we have if it wasn't for every single person who does one of our events with us, who just stops by. Like everybody, you know, adds a piece to what we do when they, you know, come part of our family. So we have the 22 Mohawks family too. It's just a private Facebook group. But people share in there. There's a lot of engagement. We post events, other people can post things. And really just, you know, once you come into our community, you're part of the family. We love you. And, you know, anything we can do for anybody, just reach out to us anytime. And, you know, if we can't handle it, we'll find somebody who can. So
absolutely,
we're here if anybody
needs. I'm not sure if you guys are on my Facebook group or not, but if you're not, please come over and share your events away. Share your events away in there. Definitely, that is that Facebook group is for all my people in there, for them to share everything. That's what it's about. So
awesome.
But once again, I really appreciate you guys coming on, taking the time, telling your stories, talking about some pretty tough stuff. I think it's important for, you know, everybody to see these kind of conversations go down. It's a really good, and you guys are really helping a lot of people out. And my gosh, I can only see this thing being amazing with you guys at the helm of it. You guys are amazing people, and I'm blessed to have gotten the opportunity for you guys to come on the show and meet you guys.
Really appreciate
Are
that,
you,
Brian.
are you guys gonna be out in Nebraska at the Hero Stock?
For the hero stock, we think we had something else.
What's the date of that?
September 9th.
It's the day before my birthday.
Oh yeah, we could probably get out there.
If you
Yeah.
guys go, you guys should. And I'm gonna fly out from California to get to it. There's gonna be a lot of great people, a lot of nonprofits out there.
Yeah.
Great time to connect and network.
Awesome. Yeah, we'll definitely look into that. That could be an option. Yeah.
Heck yeah.
for sure.
All right. Well, if you guys could hold tight, I'll be back there with you guys shortly. And thanks again.
No, thank
Thanks,
you
Brian.
for having us.
Thank you. Well, all right, friends and fam, that wraps up another great episode. Go check them out. Like I said, they are doing some great things. 22 Mohawks. They are out there helping our veterans. And, that is what we need in this community, as much help as we can get. And please share this out with everybody. Let them know who the 22 Mohawks are and what they're doing. All right. And I appreciate each and every one of you guys for watching, sharing the show. And until next time.